Was the ICE shooting legally justified? On January 7, 2026, a U.S. citizen named Renée Nicole Good was fatally shot by an ICE agent during a federal operation in South Minneapolis. The incident quickly became controversial, not because people disagreed about politics, but because the key legal question is very specific. At the exact moment the shots were fired, was there an imminent threat of death or serious bodily harm, and was deadly force necessary to stop it? That question comes straight from the U.S. Supreme Court, mainly two cases. Graham versus Connor, which says police force must be judged by objective reasonableness, based on what a reasonable officer would perceive in that moment, not with hindsight. And Tennessee versus Garner, which says deadly force isn't justified just to stop someone from escaping. It requires probable cause that the person poses a significant threat of death or serious injury to the officer or others. Next is federal policy, which matters because even if something barely passes constitutional standards, it can still violate official rules. A major benchmark here is the federal policy on shooting at moving vehicles, which says, officers cannot shoot solely to disable a moving car, and generally cannot shoot at a moving vehicle unless the vehicle poses an imminent threat of death or serious injury, and there is no other reasonable way to defend, including simply moving out of the vehicle's path. Now here's the heart of the dispute. Federal statements characterize the vehicle as weaponized, claiming the officer feared for his life. But eyewitness and video-based descriptions commonly summarize the sequence like this. Agents approached Renée Good's SUV and gave commands to exit. The SUV reversed, then shifted forward. A third agent moved into or near the vehicle's path, drew a handgun, and fired 3 shots through the driver's side window at close range as the SUV moved past and away. The vehicle then continued forward and crashed shortly after. If that sequence is accurate, the legal analysis becomes sharper. Under the Supreme Court standard, deadly force requires an immediate, unavoidable threat. Under moving vehicle rules, deadly force is generally not justified if the officer could avoid harm by stepping away, or if the shots were fired as the vehicle was already moving past or away rather than directly bearing down with no time to evade. So the legal conclusion depends on one moment. Was the officer truly trapped and about to be hit, with no reasonable alternative? Or did the officer step into danger and fire as the vehicle was leaving? If evidence shows the SUV was actively about to strike the agent or others, and the agent couldn't move, deadly force can be ruled objectively reasonable under Graham and Garner. But if the SUV was mostly escaping, and the agent had space to move out of harm's way, then the shooting is more likely to be considered unreasonable, because deadly force cannot be used simply to stop flight, and federal policy heavily warns against shooting at moving vehicles when avoidance is possible. Finally, there's a major transparency issue. Minnesota's Bureau of Criminal Apprehension publicly stated it withdrew after federal authorities restricted access to evidence and investigative materials, which is part of why the public record remains contested. So, if you strip away the noise, here's the clean legal takeaway. Deadly force is justified only when an